My name is AJ. Um, that long bit there, if you're wondering how to say it, just focus on the first five letters. You get Aquan, that's my name. I am going to be talking to you about sustainability habits, shaping them, and how they impact us on a daily basis. This is going to spread across multiple organizations and institutions because we're going to be addressing sustainability habits on various levels: high, medium, and low. Evidently, there can be a disconnect between those in leadership positions who set the policies for sustainability and the frontline workers on the lower level who actually have to implement these policies. Each morning, I sit at my desk, I see students come in with their single use disposable cups. I see lights that have been turned on from the previous week left on when I come in, and it sort of rubs me the wrong way sometimes. I see sustainability policy meet reality, and those two things don't often recognize each other. The core question here is, if sustainability is indeed everyone's responsibility, then why doesn't everyone get the opportunity to address it? Like I said, there's sometimes a disconnect. If you're going to address that disconnect, then all hands have to come together. What does that mean? At a high level, the executives, those in leadership positions, those in charge of strategy and governance, they must ask critical questions to themselves. If you're sitting at home, you should ask yourself, why do sustainability strategies fail? Is it simply because they're left on documents and left in committees and all these boardrooms to be discussed and not actually acted upon? Move past that. Ask yourselves, how does senior leadership make sure that the frontline workers can actually get feedback back to them? Push forward just once more as a high-level executive and ask, how do you move from performative sustainability, that's simply ticking boxes, to actual aspirational change? If you're operating on a lower level as a frontline staff, you should also ask, what kind of behaviors can I perform on a day-to-day basis in order to meet the policies that have been set for me or for the organization by those that are ahead? Mid-level managers might feel like they're stuck sometimes, or they feel like they are the link between the high level and the lower level. And they also have important questions they must ask themselves. Number one, how can they translate the strategy that's been given to them from above to those below them? How can they build accountability for those that are below them for themselves and for those above them? Now, the gap between sustainability and policy, between sustainability policy and practice exists. That is true. But who bridges it? We all do. All three levels must work together in order to bridge the gap. When you're working at a high level and you're in charge of making these strategic decisions and you're in charge of creating these policies, you must be able to reconcile action versus performance. What do I mean by that? Many organizations can say they've got impressive sustainability documents and they've made commitments out there publicly or whatever, but if those public commitments and all those documents can't be translated to someone who's on the front line, then there's a big gap. If the CEO speaks, in a press conference about, our annual report says we've done X, Y, Z relative to sustainability, but the cleaner in that organization can't tell you what net zero means to them on a Tuesday afternoon, then what are you doing? You must be able to listen at a high level. How do you get people on the front line, people in the middle levels, to be able to communicate accurately to you, to be able to communicate clearly to you some of the obstacles they face? If that room for listening and understanding does not exist, then you're still creating a wider gap for yourselves. You must also embed sustainability in your day-to-day processes, even at a high level. Because when it comes to decision making, a good example will be in procurement. If you are still getting your goods from individuals or suppliers who don't follow sustainability procedures or sustainability development goals, then you can't truly say you're operating as a sustainable organization, can you? No. So leaders at that position do set the tone. But beyond just setting the tone, they also need to move the narrative, and they need to ensure that the way decisions are made in their organization caters to sustainability as a whole. Thank you. Now, those who are operating on the front lines, they see these obstacles on a day-to-day basis. As I've been introduced as a receptionist, I can see things that those on the higher level may not necessarily see, and that's okay. What that means is it gives me the chance to be the person who can communicate effectively and comprehensively where I identify waste, where I identify energy consumption. A cleaner will tell you much better what floor generates more waste than any annual report or sustainability document would, because they're there on ground to see it as it happens. They're there to handle it as it happens. Behavior is the real policy for those in the front lines, because every day as they go about their business, as they go about their jobs, they have to embed sustainability in their lives. What would that look like? Because if staff aren't engaged by those who are above them, sustainability doesn't land well, okay? There's also a confidence gap, because sometimes the staff will know exactly what's wrong, but they feel like because there's no systems in place, there's no mechanism to communicate with those on the higher level, then they choose to keep quiet. What does that do? In the long term, it brings your reputation down as an organization. Frontline workers are highly underutilized when it comes to sustainability strategies because they see the inefficiencies, like I said. They see the missed opportunities every single day. But sometimes they may be rarely asked what their thoughts and opinions are, and so it's very hard to then move forward with your sustainability goals because you've neglected those you feel are at the lower level. For those in middle management, they sit at a critical point because they act as links for those up and for those down. Middle managers will receive the sustainability targets for the year from their bosses or their higher managers, and they'll receive skepticism from those below because there's no way to make the information tangible for those at the bottom. Someone can say net zero, someone can say carbon neutrality, but if you're talking to a cleaner, what does that look like? What does that sound like? As a middle manager, you have to be able to communicate that. It's not just saying, okay, we've got this checklist and let's do it for compliance sake, but you have to be able to make sure the people on the front line as well know exactly what you mean when you're talking about waste management, when you're talking about control of energy consumption, when you're talking about water waste. The translation problem is an issue that must be tackled by those in middle management in order to get the ideals of the upper management executed by those on the front line. Middle managers are culture architects and culture shakers. If those on the front line see those in middle management actively participating in sustainability actions and practices, they'll feel more encouraged. They'll feel more emboldened to share their ideas. But if it's simply, like I said, a checklist handed over to those on the front line, then they just go about their day and tomorrow nothing really changes. You might write it on the annual report, but the company hasn't really made an effort to change. Middle managers and administrators hold this crucial role, okay? And they serve as a link, like I said. In summary, those in high positions must commission genuine sustainability audits that include frontline testimony, making sure that the sustainability outcomes can be tied directly to institutional performance, not just for the optics, but actually to move reputational metrics as well. If those high executives can't create feedback loops and can't respond to those feedback loops, then it doesn't really encourage those on the front line to be able to stand, to be able to come forward and then make their appeal. Okay. Furthermore, sustainability strategies that can't be translated doesn't really help anyone in the organization. For those on the front lines, once more, ask yourself, my observations, what am I doing with them? If I realize there's waste here, who do I talk to about it? Do I have that platform? Is there anyone who will listen actively and actually act on what I am suggesting as a way forward? Are there initiatives that I can join, be a part of in my organization to show that I'm actually driving sustainability forward? Or is it everyone operating in silos? For those in the mid-level as well, you can create genuine feedback channels. Create a loop, not just suggestion box where someone can put a note in anonymously, not just a survey that disappears at the end of the year and it's kind of like all your recommendations have gone down the drain, but actual conversations. In fact, try to enforce it. Try to make it such that monthly, you speak with those on the front line. Monthly, you speak with those above you in order to really get the feedback that everyone needs in order to drive this change forward. Translate organizational sustainability such that each department will have a specific goal that they can strive for. Reward those people as well who've performed well. Don't just wait until the end of the year and say, the entire organization did this excellently well. No, if one person has been instrumental in identifying that, oh, floor free produces the most waste, we need to do something about that, either through reducing the amount of printing that's done on that floor, or we need to change the kind of paper they use. That needs to be acknowledged. That needs to be signposted to others as well. Because that's how communities work a lot of times. When they see one person do something and they get the accolades and the praise and adoration for that, they're most likely to pick it up and say, okay, you know what, moving forward, that's what I want to do as well. I also want to be acknowledged. And so, let me end by saying this. We've been thinking about sustainability as something that flows downwards, from policy to people. Real change actually occurs through trial and error in a loop. You can create all the policies you want on paper, but if you aren't performing any actions on ground to actually give you results and feedback, then you won't actually make any change. It's all going to be theoretical. And in this world we're in now, there's a lot of uncertainty, so you don't want to rely solely on the theoretical. You want to rely on practical actions that can actually make a change. So I ask you, whatever level you work on, what does sustainability look like for you? How do you measure it? And how can you translate its impact? Until we can answer these questions for ourselves, we are not going beyond sustainability, but falling behind it. Thank you.